With me, Bram, with me per usual, my boy and producer Marcus,
What's up, Dub Nation?
and our master of all things sound, Maxime.
How's it going?
Boys, I am fired up to announce that joining collectively, all of us for the first time, me in far too long, the host of the All Net podcast, a vociferous voice on Warriors Twitter, and a woman I just desperately tried to impress with the word vociferous, Miss Natfluential. What's going on, Nat?
What's up? Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no, of course. I'm not sure exactly what vociferous means. I'm just going to be honest with everybody here. So I hope I used it right. If I didn't save the comments, look, I've never told anybody I was that smart. And Nat, I should tell you, look, we need your taste today. I'm really excited to have you. Also, we owe you an apology. So
No.
yes, you do. You were a huge portion of our commemorative title podcast. Every time your voice came on, I brightened up, except for when I listened to the beginning and realized I fucked up and didn't give you an intro. So my apologies for sure.
All good. Thank you. You also, I think I was the only person at least where you included audio of me cursing. I was like, oh my God, I had to be the person with the potty mouth.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I really, it's what made you my favorite guest. And also, as long as I'm being honest, I'm just going to blame Marcus. I feel like 100% it was Marcus's fault that we didn't throw you on the intro. So MT, I mean, fuck you, man. I don't know why you did that.
All apologies now. We appreciate you joining. And
no,
it was definitely
pleasure.
Bram's fault. He was being very vociferous with that decision.
You know, I don't know what that means. That's how I mean, why use words? I just told you I can't keep up with you, everybody. Let's jump in here. Let's talk a little bit of Warriors basketball, and let's start where we always do, the glass half full. Nat, this is where we look back at recent Warriors hoop. Give me something you like or didn't like, and I'll go first just to give you guys some time to think here. Something I liked, depth. You know, I'm not coming out with something entirely new. This is what all Warrior fans are talking about right now. But the depth of this team is bananas. Kerr likened it to the 2015 title team. Curry said he doesn't envy Kerr because he has no idea how the hell he's going to get all these minutes in. So it makes me excited. And I'll give you something I don't like, depth. So I'm in a little tongue in cheek here, but one of the things I was really excited about watching is the maturation of these young guys. One of them, for example, Moody. You know, we thought they're going to get the kind of minutes you need to grow into this star. And at least based on that first game, there's so much talent. There's so many options that's not necessarily true. You know, I don't think Moody got more than like 12 minutes in that opener. So something I both liked and didn't. Nat, why don't you go second?
Sure. So what did I like? James Wiseman. I'm just so happy for him. And he just looks like night and day, right? Like a completely different player. And I'm definitely not one of the fans who was like down on him and thought like, that's it. Like, we're not going to get anything from him. But just to see how far he's come, he looks confident out there. And there were some things that surprised me, like in the preseason game, but even like in game one. And he just like, he's reading the court better. I like the little 2-man game that's developing between him and Poole. He's rebounding. You know, there's still some stuff he needs to work on the defensive end, but I'm just really quite pleased with his progression. So, and what I did not like, there was a lineup. I don't remember the exact 5 players on the court, but I know that like Wiseman, I want to say Kuminga, and maybe Jermichael Green were like out there with a couple of other guys. And I was like, I don't like, they didn't score for like 2 minutes. There was no spacing. I was like, Kerr, we need to nip this in the bud. So I did not like that.
I don't know if you listen to this pod enough to know how crazy I am, but I am filled with neurosis. One of those neurosis, if I have a party, I spend most of it looking around at the people who aren't having fun. And then I feel like responsible for them. You know, like I go over and talk about them. All of the first year when Wiseman was playing, it felt like I was watching somebody not having fun. You know, like I wanted to go onto the court and like hug him and like, no, you're fine. And this is working out. And that's done. You know, the watching and all of the changes you just described, 100% true. But the mentality, he looks like he actually enjoys being out there, which is so great. You know, it's such a night and day experience. Boys, what do you got?
Something I liked was that at no point did I feel like we were going to lose that game, even when they started coming back or closing it, you know, down from 26-27. It still never felt like the Lakers were truly in it, and it reminded me of the runs we've had where it's like, you know what, we're going to win this game. And it's, you know, there's no real question about it. So I loved that feeling again. What I didn't like, similar to Nat, was that there were stretches when Steph was off the floor and, Clay's on minute restrictions. So we have to take it with a little grain of salt. But there were stretches where, it reminded me also of those times where if Steph isn't on the court, we struggle on offense, and we're way too deep of a team to have that issue. It's the first game, so we need to still work in Dante and Jermichael and figure out what our rotations are. But I just, the fact that Steph and Wiggins had to check back in is never a good sign. We should have been able to keep that lead and let them rest the whole fourth quarter.
Yeah, that stat padding thing. It went from like, all right, LeBron's going to get his 30 or whatever. He's working towards passing Kareem. And then it got a little closer than it should have. And they did. You're right. They brought him back in. Maxime.
Yeah, I mean, in some ways, I'm surprised that we made it this far without having a standing ovation for Jordan Poole, in that I felt like there were moments where he was dropping threes, and I felt honestly as confident as when Steph was shooting threes. And it felt really good to start to get to a place where I can trust him. I mean, we all know that there are issues still on the defensive end, but you can see him. We're starting to be able to trust him as a playmaker and not just a scorer. And that has me really, really excited.
His floor leadership too, right? I mean, the confidence that he showed out there, and it's a weird thing to say because all we've done is praise JP. You know what kind of a fan we are of him, but he looked like a real legit point guard. And I'll say it shouldn't make me happy, but when he gave that pocket pass to Draymond, that backdoor when he reached him and they scored on it, I mean, all of us are watching their relationship as closely as we can, and I was basically like, oh, they're best friends. Look, he's passing to them. They're fine.
Yeah, hell yeah. I mean, I think this is a thing with Steve Kerr. You can see him start to trust him without having a point guard next to him as of this season. So very exciting. On the other end, though, couple of things. One, Kuminga giving me a -4 in my fantasy league. I picked him up as my 13th roster spot. Not great. Not great. Not something that I love there. The other thing, I think, we got to at least talk about it a little bit, was some of the posturing that was happening between Draymond and LeBron. I know there was that video going around. You saw them on the side of the court. Draymond's on the bench, and like LeBron comes over into the middle of the game. And the posturing, not just from the two of them, but also from the rest of the bench. I think we saw.
You mean
I can't remember. Yes, a beat writer was saying, "Man, it is the most uncomfortable I have ever seen the relationship between Draymond and the rest of the Warriors ever." And that is that's not great. That does not bode well for this season when we need the entire roster to be firing on all cylinders to get another chip.
I think it was Anthony Slater who said that.
Right.
And we've got a Draymond LeBron question coming down the line, so I'll save it. Instead, Natalie, I need your advice. So let's rewind this. All right. Rewind it about a year. I've got a fantasy league that's been going forever. We had an open spot. And so I turned to Maxime. Love Maxime. Haven't had him forever. And, it was like, hey, dude, join the league. And he thinks about it and then ultimately says, like, look, I don't really play fantasy basketball. It causes too much stress. Like, I'm out. I don't want to do it. And then if we rewind the clock, maybe 30 seconds, this fool is apparently playing fantasy basketball right now. So, I mean, should I be upset by it? Because it feels like I'm getting stabbed in the back on live television.
Yeah, he sort of slighted you, right? Like, he didn't want to join your fantasy, and then like he's doing it. So yeah, I don't know. I'd give him the side eye.
I'm trying. It's a new recording medium here, so I'm not sure how to do it, but that's exactly what I'm trying to do.
This is absurd. There are two sides to every story, all right? And we don't need to get into the details of it, but I'm getting thrown under the bus over here. So I'm the one side-eyeing, all right? Vociferously.
I'm just telling you right now, I am hurt. And I also forgot some housekeeping. So I mentioned it's a new video platform we're using here. We are trying out a YouTube channel. We're going to be launching it. This is kind of our maiden voyage. And I'll just tell you, Nat and everybody, although you guys already know it, it makes me nervous. Like, I'm not sure exactly who's watching. And what's making me in particularly nervous is I forgot my hat today. And I feel like my hat makes me look younger and I don't have it now. And so like, it's ever since we hit record, I've been kind of weird about it. I feel like my right eye looks a little bit bigger than my left eye too. So it's been a difficult start. And then I found out a good friend of mine told me to fuck myself with my fantasy league. But, I digress. Back to the Warriors, and we're going to our golden questions. This, Nat, is our mailbag. And I'm going to throw MTU the first one. They write in, quote, "Are the Warriors this good or are the Lakers that bad?"
Ooh, I'm going to say both. I think the Warriors are showing that they're in mid-season form already, which is great to see. Definitely the top of the West, between the Clippers, and if the Nuggets get it together, they looked terrible. But I assume it'll be the Warriors, Clippers, and Nuggets kind of vying for that. Maybe the Suns if they hold it together. But the Lakers just look bad too. Like I don't outside of AD and LeBron, Russ is just kind of going through the motions, and then the rest of that roster just doesn't really make a lot of sense. So I think they're bad. I think they're fighting for a play-in game, but the West is deep this year. New Orleans was not playing; they gave it to the Nets. So we'll see how deep the West goes if it's 7 to 8 teams versus 5 to 6. But I think the Lakers are bad and the Warriors are good.
Full said the roster doesn't quite make sense. If they surrounded LeBron and AD with 3 of these pens, they would be a much better team than the one that we saw on opening night. Nat, what do you think? Warriors this good or the Lakers that bad? You're on mute.
My bad. I have to co-sign MT. I was saying it's definitely both. I mean, the Warriors are this good. Like, I don't even think they played like maybe a B- game, right? Like it wasn't even like their best game. They definitely were like not that interested. You talked a little bit about like, it was not ideal for Steph to come back in, but it was literally like, all right, let's stop playing. LeBron had his little time to stat pad. Like, I'm just going to come in and end the game. And like, that's what happened. Like when they just feel like focusing, that's it. It's done. It's a wrap. And so they look good. And they are definitely that good. I do not think the Lakers are very good. I think they're going to be a play-in team again. So it's just whether if they're going to be in that like 7-8 play-in spot or 9-10. And
Right.
I think they could be in that later play-in spot.
Yeah, I'm just going to follow suit. The Warriors look rusty. They looked a little out of shape. They look like they still have to figure out their rotations, and they also looked awesome. So they looked very good. And the Lakers, I'll say this in a different way. LeBron's in like year 50, he's year 20, right? He's been doing it they know what rosters succeed around him. Normally speaking, he's the GM. He barrels his way to the rim, and then you kick it out to the shooters. They don't have any shooters. There are no shooters on that team. And so the roster construction makes no sense. Maxime, I'm going to change the question a little bit. Yeah. So Westbrook is just catching shit everywhere. Laker fans, non-Laker fans, TNT, local broadcasts. You watch basketball, you have a negative opinion on Westbrook, right? He also has an unassailable resume. He's probably a Hall of Famer. He averaged a triple-double. If you were Westbrook and you had that past, but all these people were shithousing you everywhere, would you be able to fight through that? Would you use it as motivation, or do you think all the outside criticism would beat you down?
First of all, we don't need the probably qualifier. Westbrook is definitely a Hall of Famer. Has there ever been an MVP that didn't make it into the Hall of Fame? And deservedly so. The dude is an amazing basketball player. He absolutely does not fit on this squad whatsoever. I mean, you saw it in that opening game. He still got his points. I think he actually played all right. But he made a comment because Darvin Ham played him off the bench in the preseason. And he said, oh, yeah, that's why I pulled my hamstring or whatever. That's ridiculous. I get that people have their routines that they get used to, and he's been starting for so long that he's not, he didn't know what to do with himself, as he said. But, I think really the issue here is that he has no context for how to operate in this offense. And so, yeah, I would be, if I'm him, understanding what armchair psychology over here, right? He's the type of person that creates narratives as much as anybody else in the league for what's working and what's not to get where he needs to go. And this dude absolutely is creating the type of narrative that is working in the wrong direction for what this Lakers squad needs.
That shit would bury me. I'm weak mentally in thousands of different ways. And one of them, I've always been better if I play with people who already know I'm good. If I sit on a court and there's a bunch of people who already believe in me, jumper falls a little bit easier. I'm making the right moves a little bit better. I'm a little bit better on defense. And then the opposite, if I don't know a group of people, or they already think that I don't belong and I can't shoot and this roster doesn't make any sense, I'm going into myself, and I'm not an NBA guy, and I'm sure Russ has a much stronger mentality, but it'd just be hard. Let's get a sense of you, Nat. We haven't really explored your personality. That's you. Would you fight through it? Because some people, it's motivational. But for me, like I just said, it would make me weak.
If I'm Russ?
Yeah, if you're in that situation and everyone is just, publicly taking shots at you, motivational, or does it cut you down?
Yeah, I mean, for me, like as an individual, it would motivate me. For Russ, I would hope it motivates him, but he seems to get more defiant, right? So by it. So I don't know if it's motivation or like his sense to like defy may almost be hurting himself and the team. So I'm not really sure where he
Yeah.
is, but it would definitely motivate me. Like, yeah, I'm gonna prove y'all wrong. Like that's how I am.
I'm
I think it's
crying in the
crazy,
corner.
too, like, this dude, we're slandering his name. This dude averaged a triple-double not once. He did it 3 seasons in a row, and then came back a couple years later after that and did it again. He's done it 4 seasons in a row, and last season, he averaged 18, 7, and 7. Like, if you told any team, like, your starting point guard will get you 18, 7, and 7, do you want that person? They'll be like, yes. So it's crazy that he gets all this hate from all these different sources when he's really, still a legit player. He cannot shoot at all, and the jump shot has only gotten worse. So he needs to figure out how to change his role. But the fact that he's still putting up those numbers, to me, just lends itself to this unwarranted slander for how far he's dropped off. He hasn't dropped off that far yet.
He's leaning into it a little bit.
Dropping off from a triple-double.
I tend to disagree with that. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
let's go.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's like same thing like Braun putting up those numbers and people just keep saying like, oh, he's doing it. The impact isn't the same. Like Russell Westbrook is completely inefficient, right? So the fact that he's tallying those numbers, it's not helping in the flow of the offense. So like he's getting it, but it's in a much like less efficient way, and it's not having an impact on winning. Like when he had that first triple-double season, you also saw the impact. It was actually helping the team win. So like to me, it's not really about the triple-double and the raw stats. It's about like how are you impacting the team with winning? And he's not, and he hasn't been for some time now. So like those triple-doubles, at least for me, like they're meaningless, right? Like that's when stats can mislead. So he's obviously still like very athletic, and I think there are ways to still use him, right? But he plays one type of way. He has like a sort of tunnel vision when he's on the court, and he's going to keep doing that. And he doesn't really seem very open to like changing things. I mean, he's openly said like, I don't watch film. So, I mean, I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm not like a pro Russ person. I'm not going to say he's a bad player, but I think like there's some areas where he needs to improve.
I just tried to hedge against his Hall of Fame stature. And I'll tell you what, if you're looking for the fast track to multiple invites onto this show, shithouse Marcus as often as you can. So nicely fucking played. And I mean, I'll say those stats in a lot of senses were empty calories. And the other thing I'll push back a little bit on MT and tell me if I'm wrong. The slander is fairly unwarranted. But the footage that came out showed him not joining the pregame huddle. When, I don't know if it was a preseason game or whatever it was, but the Lakers were all huddled up and he purposely didn't go over there. He knows all the criticism that's coming at him. And for him to have not done that, you're leaning into the slander a little bit. I mean, he knows everyone's there, but I digress. Let's push this back to the Warriors and go back to a scene that Maxime mentioned. So a clip went kind of viral. I don't even know when it was. I didn't see it during the game, but LeBron is on the Warrior side of the court. Draymond is out of the game. He's over on the bench, but LeBron sees him. And because they're friends, he goes over towards the bench and Draymond comes out and they fraternize aggressively. They show that they're friends. And then there were some hand gestures from Iggy that I'll leave to anybody who wants to go and look it up. And so let me hedge this by saying, if that were me, I would suck up to LeBron in a way that would make everybody feel awkward. Like if he came over there, I'd be so happy that he did. And I'd like casually mention to anyone who was within earshot that, oh, by the way, LeBron and I are best friends and we danced at my wedding. Like I'd point all of that out. But when you saw that footage of LeBron and Draymond doing their little back and forth, did it bother any of you or, who cares?
I'm sorry. I already spoke out of turn once. I don't want to do it.
Shoot, go. Let me guess that. Fire away.
Yeah, I found that shit annoying. Like, but I find all of the like LeBron, like extra praise and constant shit. It's annoying. And in my opinion, I think Dre is like overcompensating a little bit. Like, and when I say that, I mean in the sense of like trying to show like he's really good. This isn't phasing him. Like the green suit, just like even for Dre, it's just like a bit much. It's like, I need you to just tone down a bit.
Dude, it's like that Memphis response. Remember when he got kicked out of Memphis in the playoffs? And he did the like, oh,
right.
This means nothing.
He's just doing the most. He's doing the most. So like, I think the looks on the bench and hand gestures. I think like we know how the team feels about it.
I could not feel more uncomfortable in that moment. I've been in situations. I used to teach kids. I remember seeing them in situations. The overcompensation of him like falling back in laughter, is like clearly dude was compensating. And that coupled with the weird ass documentary that aired before the game that was like already making me feel real uncomfortable and cringe about what Draymond was doing. Like those are the only things that stand out for me from when he was in the middle of the stripes. Dude played a great game of basketball, right? But that's not what I'm remembering at all. I'm remembering all these awkward moments. He's shooting himself in the foot. He's making the situation worse. And this is what we're talking about now.
Yeah. I mean, I'd imagine if he had a media director, they would say, you know what they need to see you do right now? Play basketball. Nothing else. No TNT shots, no expensive suits, no flirtation things with LeBron. Just remind them who you are on the floor and nothing else. And we couldn't hear what the hell was said between LeBron and Draymond, but I'll tell you what, just from the body language, you could tell the power dynamic within the relationship. It's exactly what you said. I have been there. I have done that. I have laughed way too hard for people whose attention and respect I want. And so I don't know. I haven't talked to either of them, but the body language screamed exactly that. Let's move off the Lakers, you guys. Here is our next question. Quote, the Warriors' depth this year is not only legit, it's legendary. Please consider these matchups. And then they give us a couple matchups. Let me pause to say, I don't know if it's the stuff of legend quite yet. I mean, they've played only one game, but maybe it will be legendary. Here is the first matchup they give us. Could Golden State's second unit, so what? DiVincenzo, Jordan Poole, Kuminga, Wiseman, and Jamichael. Who are we saying? Moody? Who's the five that we're saying there? We'll make that fifth one interchangeable. Could they beat Utah's starting five right now? What do you guys think?
Who is Utah's starting five? I'm not that familiar with them.
Case in point.
Colin Sexton is there, right?
I think he's coming off the bench, though.
Is he?
Yeah.
Here, I pulled it up. Mike Conley. Well, this is what ESPN has. Conley, Jordan Clarkson, Lauri Markkanen, Jared Vanderbilt, and Kelly Olynyk. I say yes. I'll go first. Yes, absolutely yes. Also, factor in that Utah's trying to lose, although they just beat Denver.
I was going to say, they did a terrible job of that.
I mean, that shows how bad they are. They can't even lose on purpose.
Could they beat them? I think so. I think it would be a close game. I mean, like those are established NBA players. Even if like a lot of them were kind of like role players, but not all of them. And like,
are they legends though, Nat? Because this second unit is legendary. I don't know if you're factoring that in. It doesn't look like your facial expressions factoring in that these are legends.
I mean, look, he's like a vet, but like you still have someone like Mike Conley out there, like he's gonna know the things that like some of the young guys still have to learn, So it's kind of that like experience versus like just their shared youth and athleticism and stuff like that. So I think it would probably be a pretty close game and either side could win, but I don't know that I'm comfortable just saying like, yeah, they got that, because you still have like some smart high IQ guys over there.
Yeah, it's kind of a tongue-in-cheek question. And the second that you give it like real analysis, it does fall apart a little bit, but it won't stop me from asking this next tongue-in-cheek question. The second one was, could this Warriors second unit make the playoffs in the East? And I read this one a while back, liked it so much that I turned it into a fact. I tweeted this out. Fun fact, the Warriors could probably make the playoffs in the East. And it made a lot of people angry. A lot of people. I got a lot of feedback telling me how stupid I was and had no idea. And then a lot of likes. We got some interactions with it. But Maxime or Marcus, could they? What do you think? Are these guys, is that second unit a playoff team in the Eastern Conference?
Nah, and I think we should recognize that the East is stronger than it's been in a long time. Maybe
you're one of the people who answered my tweet, because that's exactly what they kept pointing out to me. I knew it, dude. I knew it. When you weren't spending time screwing me on my fantasy league, you're just dropping shithousing online.
Yeah, me and KD are competing for the top number of burners on Twitter. So that was all me. Yep.
I cut you off. Go ahead.
No, that's it, man. That's it. I think there's a lot of respectable teams. You got the Bucks, Philly, Toronto, Miami, even It's just, I think top to bottom almost, there's not as many jokers as there used to be.
MT?
Yeah, I agree with Maxime. Adding to that list, Brooklyn, the Celtics, Cleveland, Atlanta, those are all good teams. I think probably 1 through 10, the East is deeper than the West, but like I love our team, and they're the future, but you're not going to go in there and beat a group of veterans like that. Like it's like saying when they say, oh, Alabama's football team can go beat the worst NFL team. It's like, no, like simmer down a little bit.
These aren't collegiate players. That's not fair. I mean, the second unit has DiVincenzo's an established guy. Kuminga has a championship, I'll have you know, as does Wiseman. These guys aren't completely ridiculous. That I understand exactly where you're coming from, but I don't think it's totally out of control. And we'll save this for a question down the line, but I definitely don't agree that the East is deeper than the West this year. I think that is not true at all.
You've been wrong before. That's all right.
I'm ignoring MT. Nat, what were you saying?
I was gonna say, we do see what the championship pedigree brings. Look at Damian Lee. He saved the Suns last night. So, when Chris Paul could not. Sorry, I look for every minute to slander Chris Paul when I can.
I saw you doing that on Twitter and loved it. And I also like the idea that, like, I would imagine to become a real solid mole, like a great undercover guy to destroy someone from the inside, you first have to gain their trust. So step one for Damian Lee, that a boy D Lee, get in there and then start being your normal, fairly incompetent self. And let's see how this thing plays out. Yeah. For those watching on YouTube, I take that back. I love Damian Lee. To our next question. Quote, please tell Matty Stats to take his notepad out and predict the next 9 games. So Nat, there's a listener who is nice enough to pay attention to what we're saying, write down our predictions, and then at the end of the year actually gives us percentages. So we do, predictions, but there's some stakes on them. If we are wrong, we wallow in how stupid we were. So this is one of those times. I've got our next 9 games, so I'm going to give them to you. You guys tell me if you think it's going to be a win or a loss, yeah? Next one, Nuggets at home. I say win.
Win.
Yeah. Boys, you agree?
Win.
Loss.
Oh. Kings at home.
Win.
Win.
Suns at home.
Win.
No, sorry. Suns on the road.
Win. Oh, wow. What about Damian Lee though?
Exactly.
He'll be back in our team there.
I think for Matty Stats, I think that's the loss. I think we're 3-1 at that point.
Okay, there you go. Heat at home.
Win.
Win.
I go win.
Yep.
Hornets on the road.
Win.
I agree.
Yep, win.
The next game is a back-to-back, right?
Yep.
Is it like?
Ooh.
I think they're losing one of those 2 games. I just don't know which one.
Pistons on the road is that next one.
I'm gonna say a loss to Charlotte, a win in Detroit. I don't know. I'm really not sure, but it's one of those 2 that they're losing.
Matty Stats put mine in bold. Win on both. Heat on the road.
I'm going to go loss on that one.
Win.
Yeah, win.
I think we all know what I'm going to say. Win again. I'm going big optimism here. Magic and New Orleans on the road to finish it out. I think they're going to lose one of those. I'll say New Orleans because New Orleans looks in particularly motivated, and I think they give a shit about the regular season.
Yeah, I agree. I think they win Orlando, but they haven't traditionally played well in Orlando. They always struggle for some reason, but I think they still win, even though Boncaro looks like he's the real deal. But I think they win against the Magic, and agree. I think they lose against Zion.
Let's do this the quick way. They play 10 games. What's their record after 10? Because I think this team is going to start off hot again. I think we're looking at another year because of the way the schedule worked. And we're getting some home games, and even though we're on the road, we get some beatable teams. I think they're going to start off 8-2, and I think that's
my record too.
Yeah,
8-2. That's what I have.
Yeah,
I got 7-3.
Maxime?
Yeah, 8-2.
play like a downer noise for MT's 7-3. Like when we go back and do any of the post edit here. Here's our next question.
A truthful downer noise of amazing being right.
Whatever it is, don't allow it to be amazing. I don't know how we're going to avoid that, but do not allow it to be amazing. Quote, while the media continues to talk about Draymond's punch, there doesn't seem to be much news on the witch hunt for the person who leaked the video. What do you think that person is doing or thinking right now? So I love the idea of the day in the life of the video leaker. And what I like about it is that it's basically someone who now has to live their life like an undercover agent. You know, if they are discovered, they are screwed. And so I would imagine you're sitting there at work and every time you get an email, you're tripping balls. You know, like if it's like from the Warriors, like, oh my God, they know. And you're opening it up super slowly, or you go to like the break room and you see everybody in there and, you know, they think they finally have you and you fire off an admission and they're like, dude, it's Steve's birthday. Like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, settle down. So I would imagine that person's life is a nightmare right now. Do you guys agree? Are you guys angry at that person? Give me a video take here.
Yeah, you know, I feel like a person that has a conscience would like react with the way you're describing. I totally can see that. But like without me knowing this person's motivation, like the fact that they were like capable and able to sell the TMZ, like if they were like driven because like they just have like real financial issues, then yeah, I think it's of someone who's going to be feeling the things you do, like they're totally scared, they're paranoid. But if this is someone's like, I'm trying to get paid, then I think they have no conscience and they really don't give a fuck. And so they probably like, whatever, yo, you catch me, whatever, bro. You know,
they're just making it rain in their house, like not giving a single shit. I would
think by house, I think they're on a small private island somewhere. Did it ever get confirmed that it was the money was 2.8 million? That was the number that was floating around.
I don't know. But I know if they spend anything, they get caught immediately. You know, you show up and you're like in a new jacket or you have a new house or you're in a new car. People are going to know. If you don't show up, people are going to know. If you show up too aggressively, people are going to know. Like you'd have to live your life in this really specific lane. And unless you got paid ass tons of money, or you have, you know, you're morally bankrupt. It's got to be a tough life to play out.
I think, man, at the same time, okay, first of all, if you're getting paid 2.8 million, bro, move to Bali and you're good, right? There's no reason to come back to work. You're done here. You're done, right? If it's the other end of the spectrum, I heard it's like, oh yeah, TMZ probably paid like 10K for that. If it's 10K, you're not having a nice time. You're not having a nice time.
The advice I'd give that person. So, you know, I'm an attorney, and every now and again, when we have a case and it has a fact that we don't like, we talk about it first. You tell the story first, because if they do it, they're going to tell it in the worst possible way, right? We call it a race to disclosure. So advice to that person, reach out, get, you know, somebody in the media, tell your story. You know, if this was like, oh, my mom's sick and we couldn't pay for the treatment and we needed, like, you need something here, because they're going to catch you. Newsflash, they are going to catch you. And so you may want to hedge against this before they do.
We got a YouTube commenter saying it's reported to be 120K. I just want to point out, if that's correct, that money goes a long way in Bali. So even at 120K, consider it.
Who knew that Maxime had such a Bali interest? I feel like at some point you are definitely good. I'm starting to feel like you may have been the person who leaked the video. If you show up in Bali at some point, man, we know exactly what's up.
Damn it.
You just check, just say you're fired from the podcast. If he doesn't care at all, it was Maxime.
Yeah, boom. There you go. Quote, if you win an NBA championship, how often would you wear your ring? So don't answer. Judgment Theater will guess on everybody. Start with me. I won an NBA championship. You know, would I be demure? Would I only wear it like the Hall of Fame, you know, things I go to and like occasional dinners with other teammates? Or, you know, am I wearing it on Bart? What do you guys think? What's the guess?
Okay, hold up. Demure?
I wasn't sure about that one either.
Wow.
I tried to say it fast, so that like I was hoping we'd just move on, and it didn't really play.
Well, see, that kind of makes me feel like you're more likely to wear the ring, because that's like, you know, I'm using big words, I'm in big social clubs, whatever. I feel like you would be wearing it a lot, except that, you're Oakland, born and raised, right? And there are certain situations where, like you don't want to show up in certain areas blinging super hard because that could be a sketchy environment, right? So I think you sort of temper that based on the environment that you're in. You're wearing it when you can, but you're also being pretty careful.
I'm not wearing the 20 building. For those who aren't watching on the YouTube, what you didn't see is, as I said to Mira, I used my slightly larger eye to wink at Maxime. So I think it went okay. What's your guys' guesses? Am I wearing it all the time? Just occasionally? What do you think?
I don't think you're wearing it on Bart, but I think you're gonna wear it like sometimes unnecessarily where you don't need to wear it, just to like be extra. For sure.
I like you, Nat. MT. You know me the longest. What do you think?
I think you wear it everywhere, even to sleep. And when you're in those sketchy neighborhoods or on BART, you just spin it underneath your hand and keep your fist closed tight. But I don't think that thing comes off because you're like, I'm just going to wear it until it's not mine anymore.
I would wear that motherfucker in the shower. If I was the third string janitor and they gave it to me, I'd wear that shit to bed. Just like you said, there would be no, I mean, with the exception of I might get jacked portions of my life, then it comes off. But if it's just a matter of like classiness, it's never off. It's constant.
Good news. They offer replicas that you can buy for only $10,000 right now. So,
for only.
That sounds great. Yeah. It would be like the fucking Lord of the Rings. I'd have that shit on a chain around my neck, like at all times, but it would just be out showing it to everybody. Let's guess for Maxime. My guess for Maxime, I say yes, but understated. He wears it, but like isn't showing. Like I'd be like leading with my hand all the time for no reason, like shaking people's hands, consistently, even when I didn't need to. I feel like Maxime would wear it in the occasional scenario when he didn't need to, but wouldn't overplay it. So, like a 60% wearage rate, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Are we?
Yeah. Go ahead, Nat.
Oh, I was gonna say, like, I didn't know when I was supposed to jump in.
Judge him.
I haven't gotten like a gauge on like enough on his personality, so I'm gonna say, probably something similar to what Bram said. Like, you don't strike me as the type who's just gonna like overdo it. So, like, I think you'll wear it when it makes sense. If it does, like if there's something where it's appropriate, like, oh, this would be a good time for me to bring out the ring, you will. But I don't see you like being like, I'm just gonna rock this every day.
What I love about that answer is you and I have only talked one time before this, and you knew for sure. You weren't like, you know what, Bram, I'm not really sure. You're like, oh, he's extra. But I know. This fool's wearing it everywhere. MP, what's your guess for Maxime?
Yeah, my guess is Maxime is more demure about it, and he only wears it sporadically. So, I think he brings it out only on the rarest of occasions when he has to go re-up the tree climbing card license or the important stuff.
He takes it off at least for when he scales trees. Maxime, what's the answer?
Okay, so first of all, right, I got my like championship hat, which I think is the dopest, and I never wear it. And my wife's like, why don't you ever wear your hat? It's like, because I don't want it to get scuffed, right? So, Nat, you're dead on, right? I'll wear it in classy occasions when I know that things are going to be chill and I'm not climbing any trees or whatever. But I got to say, this is the perfect time to just tell this story, which is that I won't name any names, but a Bay Area sports team affiliate, somebody high up enough to get a ring, was last year chilling out and happened to be at the coffee table next to my mom and started hitting on her by showing her the ring and saying, hey, like, you want to take this ring, with an implication that it would come with some strings attached. So I'm just saying, there's the whole gamut of taking advantage of the
Bob Fitzgerald. Is Bob Fitzgerald. That's my guess.
Absolutely incredible.
That's an incredible story.
That's
the next off the court report, Maxime.
Let's get your mom on, man, for sure.
Down.
Let's jump the gun and go to Nat. I'm gonna guess first. I think you're closer to me. I don't think you wear it all the time. It's not a shower move. It's not like an in-bed move. Like, it would be separable. But I think, like, if we're using that 60%, I think you're closer to like 85. I like anything where it would be somewhat allowable. It's there. Not as aggressive of me, but it's there for sure. So that's my perspective on this one.
Do others go before I say what I?
Oh yeah. Don't reveal it yet.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm gonna go. Nat only wears it when there's an audience. So she does, lives like this, or there's basketball related scenarios. I don't think she wears it outside of that because she's just like, like it's not that important to be flashy. She's like, okay, like I earned this and I'll show it where it's applicable. But to the people who don't care, like she's fine with that too.
If I did it on recordings, I'd have to be holding my mic all the time, showing my ring just like this. It's like, oh, weird. Oh, this, I'd say it'd be hella close to the screen.
Yeah, I feel like I'm with MT also because there's probably some truth to how you guessed when we were talking about my situation. But I would also guess that like when you're home alone, you are wearing it and you're like rocking out, like moving around the apartment, like, yo, check me out. That's the kind of because that's also what I would do. So I feel like there's some synergy happening here, and that would be my guess.
So what's the truth? Are you dancing with the ring at home, Nat, or what's your move?
No, I'm not a big jewelry person in general, and I think it's really gaudy. I mean, it's just like it's so overstated. So, it's like I'm like one of those people like with designers. I don't like the logos and everything that's just so out there. So, but I am cocky about like sports and like, if I do something. So I could definitely see me like if I'm on a pod, just like having it there, like even if I'm not wearing it, like as a flex, I would definitely just have it to flex, like for people to know that I'm better than you. I won. I'm the shit, but it would only be for like situations where it makes sense for me to have it to flex, but to actually like just wear it, no, because it's like not my style at all. It's like way too much.
I love the last 30 seconds of your answer of if we go backwards, it's not my style, it's too much. Also, I like to say I'm the shit and I beat your ass. Yeah. The duality of that. MT will tell us that he's not going to. He'd keep it cool. It's in a case. It's on his bookshelf, something like that. He's saving it for the Hall of Fame. But I happen to know bullshit. He's definitely wearing it, but on like it wouldn't be all the time. I'll keep up this number thing, in the 70s, somewhere between Maxime and that. Certainly less than me, but it'd be there. It'd be there. He'd like rest his hand on the table occasionally and like draw attention to where it was without saying anything. So it's a little bit more than halfway for MT.
Gosh, I wish I knew you guys better. So please don't
like. You know me so well, Nat. You know me.
Don't get offended by anything I'm about to say. But you just strike me as someone who can be like kind of like maybe sarcastic or douchey at times, like if you want to be, right? So like
I love this segment so much.
So like if you want, but it would be intentional, not because that's just like your personality, but like you just strike me as someone who could be a smart ass. So I feel like you would use like the ring in situations like when you just wanted to be like really pompous or like I
like this
dick, for lack of a better word. But like I don't know what would constitute that situation, but maybe someone's like really annoying you or they're not respecting like something, but like you would like bring it out in like those kinds of situations.
I know what it would constitute. It's when he wakes up. It's when he's awake. It's when that's when it would have to happen. Maxime, what's your guess?
That's incredible. And the whole time that you're right, I was just before Bram said anything, I was like, my God, this is Bram's dream. This is incredible.
It's so awesome. It's so awesome.
I'm so sorry.
No, you're not. That was incredible. Don't you erase that I'm sorry part, Maxime. Immediately. Do not let that go live.
So I feel like, right, Bram, you were saying that he would like point it out in the case, and I think that's the one area where it'd be different, right? Like Noah's up here in the comments saying, "Oh, Bram, Marcus's wallpaper is fire," right? And that's the type of thing. Marcus never talked about it. It just showed up one day, and all of a sudden it was in the background. And that's kind of like, I mean, I know that's a large thing, and you notice it, but I feel like the ring would be the same thing. He would never have to point to it. He would know that you're aware of it without saying anything. And I think that's where that pompous energy comes from. It's just like, I know I'm better than you. It's just there.
I'll let the audience guess what my favorite part of this podcast has been. MG, what's your answer?
Nice. Nat, yeah, no apologies, Nat. This is judgment theater for that reason. So
right.
Always all love. Always all love. Yeah, you're right. I am sarcastic, but I don't think I'm pompous, but maybe I should ask other people on that. But
super pompous.
Maxime is right. I would not wear it. I don't like jewelry, but I would put it behind me in a case and just let people discover it for themselves. And I would kind of approach it as You know, like if you've been there before, act like you've been there before. So I have the championship. If you recognize it, then you know, but I don't have to say anything.
Let the record reflect that he said exactly what I said. It'd go in a case. I don't like jewelry either. I would wear the fuck out of that. And I would be pompous and I would be hell of douchey and I'd be super insecure about it. And I'd be, if I win a title, the next time I win a fantasy title, I'll buy myself a ring and just wear that everywhere. Like I am not that proud when it comes to that thing. Final question. All right. And this leads into a segment I'm really excited to share. The question itself is, quote, do the contracts for Wiggins and Poole mean that Draymond is not long for this team? Is he gone? And so I'm not qualified to give you a real answer, but we spoke to somebody who covers the team for a living, and Connor. That segment's coming up next. Connor's going to give you his take, but I really want all of yours. So you saw those signings. And in fact, to give you time to think, I'm going to add something I should have said during the glass half full, something I like. One of the things I liked was what these signings indicated, right? While the Warriors were giving these very calm, public-facing press conferences during the Draymond thing, they were working hard as fuck behind the scenes to get these things done. And I like that. I watched that Lakers thing on HBO. And one of the things that stuck out to me was Jerry Buss, who breaks the fourth wall all the time. And he's looking at the camera. And at one point he says, you know what my favorite animal is? It's the swan. And he says, it's not because of how graceful or how beautiful it is, because it is. It's because if you go beneath the water, you'll see that graceful, beautiful creature is working hella hard. Its little legs are going deep. And so the announcing of the signings was a swan response. You know, they were all calm up top, but underneath they were putting in real work. But that said, okay, what do you guys think? Does this mean that Draymond is gone?
Okay, I'll start. I think it's 50-50. So like the response, like Twitter's initial response was just like, oh, Dre's gone. And I say 50-50 only because of the fact that like Dre has a player option, right? And so I don't know what the market is going to be for Draymond. And I think that's going to largely depend on how he performs this season. If there is a market for Draymond that also allows him to be on a team that's going to let him play deep into the postseason, then potentially, right? I don't think he's going to get 27 million, but like, let's say someone offers him a contract, 2 to 3 years, and it's like 20 per year. Cause I think the security, the overall value of the contract, and if the Warriors are unwilling to like offer something like that, restructure his deal, then I think potentially. But the other side of that is that, like you mentioned earlier, winning can cure all. It can change things. It's a long season, but I don't think winning will just be enough here. Like, I think Draymond's going to have to do something he's never done, and that's humble himself, right? Like right now, I don't think the situation as is tenable. Like, I think that report, like, to me, didn't shock me, because if you were really paying attention to the body language during ring ceremony, like on the side, like, it's clear that the relationships are fractured right now in the locker room and that it's like business. I think you can get through a season like that because their on-court chemistry will be good because they just have so much history. I don't think that can extend for like 2 years and it be like this. So I think something would have to change drastically or he's going to be gone.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think something that stays in my mind is that we just saw this documentary that clearly TNT was okay with, right? And somebody in TNT, I'm sure multiple people at TNT looked at it and said, this is ridiculous. We can't air this. But the reason they did is because they are investing in him. We just saw Chuck get a 10-year, $100 million contract to be on TNT. So those are the types of numbers. Look, Draymond's not going to get that in his first TNT contract, but those are the types of numbers that he might be able to anticipate someday if he continues to maintain and nurture that relationship and succeed in his post-basketball career. Which is to say, this could be one of those rare situations where Draymond just says, okay, I'm not getting value from another team because nobody can maximize my value like the Warriors. Maybe I'm going to exercise my player option, but that might actually be the end of it. I'm going to bow out early and just go all in on my career that he's already clearly maturing before our eyes, and just sort of say, okay, let's do it because I can make as much money doing that as I could for my last contract playing basketball.
Yeah, I agree. I think he stays. And I think the offer of a max contract means more to him than the actual max contract.
Hmm.
I think it's about the optics of him being recognized as a core and being valued and said, and the Warriors saying, we will give you as much as we can because you are part of Steph, Clay, and Dre. So I think it's about that. And if that conversation happens, then they work it out and they figure out he opts in, and then we tackle this in, a year from now or two, after the off season, and they figure out how to restructure it and he stays a Warrior for life. I think that's more important to Draymond. And especially when Steph and Clay sit down and say, look, we want to do this. We talked about only playing for one team together. And, like they're going to say, let's keep this going. How do we have to restructure what we're doing to get you enough for you to stay and for us to ride this out together? We're going to be our version of Tim and Manu and Tony Parker before we went to Charlotte, and and be out, and you can go make your money on TNT afterwards.
Did that punch impact your vision of Steph, Clay, and Dre at all, MT? I'll give you a stupid example. I've learned recently that if you include pictures and tweets, people tend to interact with it more. And so I get really nervous about what picture I'm going to put out there because you always want interactions, right? And the go-to one I've been using for years is the picture of Steph, Clay, and Dre sitting together looking at their rings. And it always got interactions. I've been weird about that one recently. For no good reason. There hasn't been any quote saying, but like, it feels weird. It feels like there's a divide. Am I being silly? In your opinion, does this punch not impact those three, viewing all of them together as like the foundational pieces of the war?
I think it has. Like Nat said, the body language is kind of, like you can't misinterpret it. Yeah, if you're being honest and intellectually honest, you look at that and you say something's off. But it's because it's so fresh, like time will heal those wounds, or at least make them feel better. Winning will do that. And to me, I think Steph and Clay view it more as like embarrassment for when your sibling does something that you're not proud of them doing, versus it being an irreparable, like, oh, like I'm not going to mess with you on that level anymore.
Yeah,
like, they're just embarrassed because the person that they consider a brother did something that was out of line and they, like would never do. So I think it's just going to take a while for it to like kind of just smooth over, but it'll never be back to what it was outside of those core three. I think those core three get back to it after they, like just keep them out of the doghouse.
I'm not sure.
Why?
I'm really not, because like, for one, I think what's always honestly saved Dre is the relationship with Steph. I don't actually think Dre has I think Clay is like Clay and he's, easy. But I think Draymond at different times has war on like different people. But it was always Steph. Like, that's really what it was. And I think he's really hurt the relationship with Steph. Like, he was visibly annoyed in like that initial presser, like visibly annoyed,
and said it that this is the kind of thing that can derail a season. I mean, he didn't mince words,
right? And I just don't know if he. I think there's a real relationship there, but like, if we're being honest, I think part of what always saved Dre was like the value that he also added, and like that value has changed. Like, he still offers value to the Warriors, but it's not what it was so many years ago. And so like, now you're less valuable, and then like there's the antics, and you're also not really showing that you're really sorry for anything. You're doing TNT specials, you're like celebrating with Bron on the court. Like, I think for them to get past it, he really genuinely has to come showing like a different, like I said, humility. Maybe that's not the right word, but I think he has to show something that's not typical for Dre. And I just don't know if he will. And maybe he will behind the scenes and not publicly, but I think like there's a real chance that like Steph is just also done too. I really do. But I could be wrong, but I think it's more severe than like the past.
You'll hear most of my takes in this next thing with Connor, but I'll say now that I split the difference between the two of you. What they've accomplished together, the wars they've gone through, everything that they have done, I don't think the relationship can be thrown out immediately. But I tell you what, the injury cannot heal until they stay off of it, until he starts showing a little bit of humility. I mean, the idea that they did have that TNT thing, if I'm the Warriors, if I'm Steph, I just want to not have to think about Draymond for a little while, only on the court, not off of it. And that still isn't happening. We're still getting a lot of Dre being Dre, showing us that he doesn't care. And unless he allows some time for that swelling to go down, I think he could irreparably damage it. I don't think he has yet, but I think he's starting to play around with it, and I really hope it doesn't get there. I mean, I'll keep it personal. I don't play with these guys, but they feel like family members. We spend so much time with them. We welcome into our house, and Draymond was the guy who gave us toughness. This team got pushed around my entire life. I'm not just dynastically. They were awful. We needed a bully. We really did, to get out of the doghouse. And Draymond was the guy who got us there. So I have a relationship with this guy, and the idea of him leaving my life in these circumstances, I don't like at all. But seeing him in that fucking green suit and, flirting with LeBron, it's all I want to do is forgive him. And I don't feel like he's given me the opportunity to.
Yeah. I mean, I think Nat's point about what happened behind closed doors is important to keep in mind. We don't know what was said to the team during that apology and what was said to Jordan specifically. I'm hoping and giving Dre the benefit of the doubt that it was legitimate and sincere and genuine enough that the team believed it, and now it's just going to take time to get past it. But that's my guess, and more of a hope than it is what I think happened. So trying to stay positive. But
I'll tell you what, let's hear from Connor and get his take for people who don't think that a 4-hour podcast is too long. Stay tuned, and that take is coming up next. Off we go. Back to us. Nat, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you. We did owe you the apology, but far more. I wanted to spend time with you. This has been nothing but a pleasure. I am sure I'm not the only one thinking that way. For people who need far more Natfluential in their life, where do they go?
Natfluential. That's the handle, spelled the way that it sounds. Follow me on Twitter. The podcast is all NatPod. I do actually have some news that's coming soon. So my pod will be rebranding. I can't say everything that's coming, but yeah, big news, a lot of exciting things happening. I'll be starting a new role. So you'll be seeing me kind of more on a national level. That also I can announce next week. So it's just a bunch of things you having me on right before I can announce everything. But yeah, there's a lot coming. So just follow me and you'll hear about it if you like what I had to say. And thank you for the time. I love being on with you guys. Thank you so much.
Remember that we were here before the announcement. When you go big, I want you to come back to your grassroots. For us, remember, you want to shoot us an email, get us a question, tell us we did a good job, bad job, any job. You can send that to
huddle@warriorshuddle.com.
We also now have this YouTube channel. We're going to be tweeting that out periodically. Our Twitter account is @WarriorsHuddle. We also have a website. It's mtisAdouche.com. Check that out at your leisure, whenever you want to. Is there a YouTube designation, Maxime? Is there a channel or something like that? Or they just search?
You put me on the spot. We will put up a URL. We haven't figured it out yet, but if you search Warriors Huddle, you can find us.
Last thing. And so I don't do this too frequently, but I want to give props to a random ass company. Yeah. So I'm one of those assholes who has an electric scooter. Those people you hate, you see it on the side. I am one of those people. When you see me, you probably want to hit me with my car. I had a little bit of drama with mine, and the company, U-Scooter, gave me awesome fucking customer service. So they're not giving me $1 for this. I'm not getting anything out of it. There's no upside, but I appreciate it. I'm so bitter most of the time, and say all these nasty things, that I wanted to show the other side a little appreciation. So I love their product, love what they did for me. For what it's worth, uscooter.com. Check that out. With that in mind, go Warriors. Hopefully see you next week.